Hi, we are continuing to tell some of the early stories of the history of the Arts Center. And in this tale, we enter a really important part. When we get into the 1930s, the Arts Center is continuing to do what it has always done, operating out of the library, doing classes, exhibitions, programs in spaces throughout the downtown. But once we get into the Depression, it's starting to get harder to do that. And the Art Center board staff still have the ambition of opening up their own facility, their own operations that will enable them to do everything that they want to do within one space. The Depression, oddly enough, provided that opportunity. The WPA was formed in the 1930s, and an outgrowth of that was the Federal Art Project, which was a very expansive program which funded artists to do work. They funded murals that were done throughout the country, and they started to open up community art centers. The purpose of the community art centers initially was to be almost like a workshop, so that artists could gather in certain points to create public art. But more and more they started to see them as community art centers, not just places where art would go out from into the community, but where the community could go to experience art and classes. So the Society of Fine Arts worked with the Federal Art Project as the local sponsor and was accepted into the program. Throughout 1937, they started to form the basis of what would become the Sioux City Art Center, and that began by finding a location. It took them a long time to find a space that was suitable for them and available, and something that would be, in effect, donated to the project. And that came in the Willigus building, which is up on Pierce Street. And Mr. Willigus, whose daughter was very much in the arts, convinced him to give his basement over to what would become the Sioux City Art Center. And while that doesn't sound very glamorous, it actually provided them enough space to have classrooms, to have gallery spaces, to present programs when they needed to do programs, and done with volunteer labor from different labor unions. There were cash donations, donations of equipment. The Junior League was heavily involved, and other local civic organizations. All of these people and organizations gathered together to make sure that the new art center was going to be fantastic. And it was. It became, when it opened in February of 1938, it became a model for many other programs. Holger Cahill, who was the man who was overseeing the Federal Art Project, would regularly point to the Sioux City Art Center as he toured the country promoting his community art center program as one of the models for how the community, the artists, and the facility came together to produce something really important at that time. What was amazing was the response from the community. During the first day, the first few months, thousands of people poured into the Art Center. Classes were offered for free. There was a wide variety of classes. The exhibitions were really high quality, and they started to grow that collection that we've talked about in previous sections of this video series. And I should mention the reason why we are the Sioux City Art Center is that's what we were named at the beginning. All of these community art centers were referred to as art centers. Some over the years changed their names to museums. Most of them have actually at some point closed their doors. But those of us like the Sioux City Art Center, the Walker Art Center up in Minneapolis, maintain that name Art Center just to honor our origins. In the next video, I'll talk a little bit about those first few years of operating as the Sioux City Art Center and how the Art Center grew into its partnership with the city.